Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance on the classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offered my respectful obeisances unto him. Hari Bol. We're just reading verse 8, I think. Okay, so as you can see from everyone's smiles, this verse is very commonly known and it's a very important verse. And Prabhupada says that this verse should be the guiding light for devotees on how to live life in devotional service. So let's recite it. Tate nukampam sushamekshamano
Tate nukampam sushamekshamano
Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam
Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam
Hridvagvapurbil vididan namaste
Hridvagvapurbil vididan namaste
Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bha
Jivetayo mukti pade
Tate nukampam sushamekshamano
Tate nukampam sushamekshamano
Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam
Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam
Hridvagvapurbil vididan namaste
Hridvagvapurbil vididan namaste
Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bha
Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya
Tate nukampam susamekshmano
Tate nukampam sushamekshamano Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam Hridvagvapurbil Tatenukampam susamikshmano. Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam. Hitvakvapurbe vididan namaste.
Jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhav.
Jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhav.
Tatenukampam susamikshanam.
Tatenukampam susamikshmano. Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam.
Vakvapadvidapam namaste.
Hitvakvapurbe vididan namaste.
Jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhav.
Jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhav. Tatenukampam susamikshmano. Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam. Vapurbe vididan namaste. Jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhav. Haribol. So let's do the word for word. Wait, don't go down yet.
It's not going.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody recognize this? Any word? Okay, well, now you cannot.
Namaste.
But
You were saying, does anybody recognize any word?
yeah,
Word.
I want everybody to maybe whoever knows a little bit of. I mean, if you know any word that you recognize, I would like you to point it out.
Namaste.
Okay, namaste.
Jiveta and Daya.
Jiva and Daya. Mukti, yes.
Vande.
Daya.
Daya,
Means give.
give.
Yeah. And Vapul I think Vapul means speaking one.
Vapu, Vapu, Vapu Seva.
Yeah.
Vapu means body.
Anukampa.
Anukampam. What is Anukampam?
It's mercy. Similar to mercy. like-
Mercy, yes. Yes, compassion.
And Samikshamano. I'm trying to understand the meaning. I have various meanings for it.
Okay, so let's go word to word. So, tatte anukampam susamikshmano. So tat, here it is, therefore. Te anukampam. Anukampam, as Ishan said, compassion, right? So Lord Brahma is saying, therefore, anukampam, compassion, susamikshmano here is earnestly waiting. So Brahma is saying, therefore, anyone who is earnestly awaiting for your compassion, bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Bhunjana means suffering. I was remembering this word, it's funny. I was remembering the meaning of this word as bhunjana, literally like bhunjana. So you're done, suffering. So bhunjana is suffering, and eva means certainly. And then atmakritam means the deeds that you've done by your own self. And vipakam here means the fruitive results of your activities that you have done. Right? So anyone who earnestly awaits for your compassion, all the while suffering the reactions, vipakam, of his past deeds, then what Brahma says? Hidvag vapurbir vididan namaste. Now, while doing that, that person is suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, what does he do? Does he just gives up and just not do anything? And does he become lazy and does he cry and whine? Why is it all happening to me? No. What does he do? Hrid vak vapur bhir. Hrid means heart. Vak means words, not mind, words. And then vapur bhir, through body. Vapu, you can know Vapu seva, Vani seva. Vapu means body. So Vidadhan means offering and Namaste means obeisances. Te unto you. So anyone who is all the while suffering the reactions of his past deeds, misdeeds, is offering his obeisances to you through his heart, through his words, and through his body. Jive tayo mukti pade sadhaibha. Jiveta, such a person, Jiveta means who lives like that. Such a person, mukti pade. Pade, as we know, little bit, whoever knows Hindi and Sanskrit, pade means position. So that person becomes eligible for the position of liberation. Right? And then Brahma says, Sa Dayabhag. Sa, he, and Dayabhag means he becomes the rightful heir of that position of liberation. Right? So anyone who earnestly awaits for your compassion, all the while experiencing suffering, the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering obeisances to you through his heart, mind, heart, words, and body, becomes eligible for liberation, mukti pade, and why? Because it has become his rightful claim. So basically what this verse is teaching us is how to get the kingdom of God. That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport that we'll be reading shortly. How to get the kingdom of God and how should you live your life to reach that destination. Okay? So let's read the translation. Or we can read the synonyms all together as well, just if you want. Tat, therefore, te, your, anukampam, compassion, susamikshmana, earnestly hoping for, bunjana, enduring, eva, certainly, atmakritam, done by himself, vipakam, the fruitive result, hrit, with his heart, vak, words, vapurbhi, and body, vidadhan, offering, nama, obeisances, te, unto you, jiveta, lives. Yeah, anyone who, mukti pade, to the position of liberation, sa, he, dayabhag, the rightful heir. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. We can read the translation together. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. I missed this very important word in explaining the verse is causeless mercy. Your compassion and your causeless mercy. Krishna's mercy to his devotees is causeless. We have to understand that. Sometimes we don't even do anything to receive his mercy, but he still gives it. And that's his compassion, that's his causeless mercy. Mercy, as I think somebody was explaining in the classes before as well, like mercy is something which you get even when you don't deserve something. So that's what it's called, mercy. You don't deserve it, but you still get that mercy, right? So now we can read the purport all together. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of bhakti, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. Susamikshmano indicates that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced that activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness in this world. Creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It's rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. Earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay for gaining the personal association of the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God. As indicated here by the words Dayabhag, such just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the supreme pure Lord Krishna without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. This purport is really beautiful. Okay. The purport in itself is very much self-explanatory, but I will try to explain a little bit what Prabhupada is trying to say. So, what this verse is asking us to do is to accept our destiny and not fight. You know, what it's asking us to do is to accept the reactions of our past misdeeds and keep doing devotional service. You know, while you're going through that phase where all these difficulties are coming in, which comes to everybody today or tomorrow. You know, something or the other is always there, and it makes you feel anxious, it makes you feel fearful, it makes you feel like, how did this happen and why is this happening to me? You know, it will come. This is material world. You know, this material world is created in this way that there is no happiness in this world. You know, so everyone has to go some or the other type. Everyone has to go through some of the other type of difficulties in their life. But what this verse is asking us to do is to accept it, without saying why me, why is it happening to me? What have I done to go through something like this? You know, verse is saying just patiently wait and do what is practical also. Like, let's say if you incurred a disease, you know, like you're going through something very painful, so you do take a medicine, you do take something to relieve your pain, but then keep on doing devotional service. You know, I was very much inspired by Ishan Prabhu. Like that day, Mridanga fell on your toe, but you didn't like stop coming or doing devotional service. You were just, you know, even you were limping to go up and down, which is like, it shows how much determined you are. And Krishna loves such kinds of devotees. You know, he says in Bhagavad Gita, that chapter that in which he describes the qualities of his devotees that he says, Santushtam Satatam Yogi, Yatatma Drinishchaya, that determination he really likes. And then he says, so Yo Mad Bhakta Same Priya, such a devotee is very dear to me. Krishna says that, right? So keep doing devotional service from your heart, from your words, from your body. while waiting for your reactions, you know. And then Prabhupada writes in his purport that a sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respect and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay. You know, if somebody comes to you and he says, I can take you back to Godhead. You know, your spiritual master says, I can take you back to Godhead, right? And he gives you some instructions. You know, he gives you some austerity to perform. He gives you 4 regulative principles. He gives you chant Hare Krishna for 2 hours a day. He gives you other instructions. And in that moment, if a devotee is sincere, he thinks that, what is this austerity for me if that is going to help me to reach back to Krishna? You know, Prabhupada says, considering all this hardship a small price to pay. This is just a very small price to pay for a devotee who is sincere, right? Otherwise, what can come into your mind? Why am I doing all this? What is the purpose of all this? I can't feel anything happening. You know, I can't see any changes happening right in the moment, so I'm not going to do this. That can come into your mind. But a sincere devotee doesn't think like that. You know, I was listening to a lecture and I think it was by Mahatma Prabhu, and he was explaining that Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavan. You know, he's like, even if you're not qualified, he has given you mercy. He is giving mercy. Like in the other yugas, you have to be qualified to achieve initiation. Let's say Brahmana, you have to be a Brahmana to get initiation. You have to be a Kshatriya to get the knowledge of weapons, like that, right? But for bhakti, even for bhakti, you have to be Brahman initiated and you have to know certain rituals to get that mantras to chant, to purify yourself. But Mahaprabhu knows that in Kali Yuga, we don't have that much focus. We don't have that much. Can we increase this light? Because it's making me feel very sleepy. Yeah, this is good. So Mahaprabhu knows that we're not qualified. It's like you're a high school dropout, but you're getting admission into a Harvard University. And now you're saying, all you have to do is show up. All you have to do is apply for that application and you are getting admission. You know, but you're thinking, oh, it's so hard to go at 8 a.m. applying for that application. So you see, you have to understand the gem you're getting. You have to understand the jewels that you're getting in bhakti. So a little bit price to pay for it is okay for a sincere devotee. That's what Prabhupada writes here. And when you think like that, when you meditate on Lord with this kind of consciousness, that bona fide servant of the Lord becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated here in by the words Dayabhag. Son of God, I don't know why I'm remembering Jesus for some reason, son of God that he's mentioning, because he also went through a lot of hardships, like literally was crucified. So, and if you read the descriptions of that crucifixion and the pain that he went through was crazy, and all that he had to say at the end of his life is, forgive those who committed these sins to me, and please accept me in your lotus feet, or something like that. That was the prayer that meant like that. And I was reflecting that Haridas Thakur also had the same prayer when the king's soldiers were beating him up in 22 marketplaces, and all he was thinking was like, please forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing, please forgive them. And then as soon as he got to know that if he doesn't die, they're gonna die, he's like, oh, you should have told me before. He held his life fear inside him, and then it felt as if he died. So, anyway, what my point was that, like, for elevated personalities like this, little hardships to get the personal association of Lord, they think of it as it's mercy of the Lord. Because Prabhupada also says that in Bhagavad Gita, A devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma, right? So why are these elevated devotees feeling all these difficulties or going through these difficulties when Krishna is saying that once you surrender unto me, and we know that they are surrendered, then they no longer suffer the reactions of his past karma. So for pure devotees, we know that, as you mentioned the other day in the class, that they are under the influence of Yoga Maya and not Mahamaya, right? So Krishna is very personal with his devotees, you know. I was reading the pastime of Sudama also, and in that he had to go through so much poverty, right? But in his case, it wasn't the reactions of his past misdeeds. He was actually just very satisfied in what he have. You know, he didn't want anything more, and Krishna gave him so much more. But when we talk about devotees like us, who are still very new to Krishna consciousness, and we are trying to understand what should we do, how should we live our life like to grow, advance, and reach that stage of bhakti, then this verse is our guiding light. So we have chosen this path of bhakti with our heart, you know, but we still have, when we were living in the life of outside of Krishna consciousness, we did so many sinful activities. Even in our past lives, we did so many sinful activities, right? And when we are doing this Krishna consciousness, we still have some remnants of that mentality in our mind, in our heart. And Krishna knows that if we don't get purified, we're not going to achieve that. As Prabhupada writes that, to approach the sun, one has to become a fire. Without becoming a fire, you cannot approach the sun. So similarly, Krishna, who is very pure, you know, he's that essence of purity. To reach him, to be in his association, to be in his associates' association, we have to reach that stage of purity. So Krishna, knowing mercifully that all that we are going through is not easy for us to give away, you know. So then he takes devotees' life in his own hands. For non-devotees, they are suffering the reactions due to their own karma. But for devotees, Krishna personally takes charge. You know, he takes all the vestitudes of sinful mentality that are left. He takes it and then he gives it little by little, just enough that the devotee feels almost obliged to, you know, like depend on Krishna. So then he thinks that this is mercy of Krishna. You know, it was very hard for me to leave such and such sinful thing. But Krishna, becoming so personal, he was seeing me in that moment. And then he was so personal with me that he took charge of my life. And now he's making these decisions in my life. You know? So that's what the thought process of a pure devotee is. We cannot imitate it, but we can always meditate on it. Right? And also, when we were reading 6th canto, I think 5th canto, let me see, where Shukadev Goswami tries to like say to Arjuna that you should perform, not Arjuna, but Parikshit Maharaj, that like he tries to get done with Bhagavatam in that verse, and he plays a trick on Parikshit Maharaj, saying that what does he say? That at the starting, where Parikshit Maharaj asks this question, that where he says that this kind of process is like elephant going into the water and putting the sand back on top. I think there's a question. I forgot what was the point about, but there's another point in there is that which is very similar to this is.
I think the question was how to get rid of how will these living entities get rid of their sinful reactions, or they will keep on suffering in.
Yes. How can living entities not keep on suffering? You know, I think that was the question. And then Shukadev Goswami says you should perform pious activities or something like that.
No, you should repent for your sinful activities, and you should atonement.
Yes, atonement, and you should What was the first thing?
Repent.
Atonement is the repent, but you said something else before.
Yeah, I said you should repent for his practice and then atone for it.
Yes. So then he gives an example of a criminal. Parikshit Maharaj says that a criminal gets punished, but when he comes out, he does the same activity again. So that sinful mentality is still living inside the mind of that criminal, right? Or when bamboo land is burned, there are still roots left on the land, right? Which will grow as soon as they get a little bit of water for irrigation, and then they'll grow. So that vestiges of sinful mentality is still living in the hearts of devotees, and Krishna sees that, and he wants their devotees to come back as quickly as possible. So what he does is personally take charge and personally engineer these certain situations in the life of devotees that he knows is perfect fit for you individually, that it will just hit you at the right spot, that you will come back to Krishna. And you can observe in everyone's life there's different kinds of difficulties, and you would realize down the line in coming years that those difficulties were perfect for you to come closer to Krishna. And like for Parikshit Maharaj, he wanted him to come back soon, and he also wanted the Bhagavatam to be spoken, right? So that whole pastime of cursing him and him putting the garland and getting cursed. But what he does in that situation, he doesn't say, why is this happening to me? He was the pure devotee of the Lord. So many sages came down when they got to know that Parikshit Maharaj is going to leave his body. They came to give him his association and came to learn from him, right? So what he did in that moment, he said, I accept it. Accept that. No whining, why is it happening? Accept it as Lord's mercy. Very personal mercy. So that is one aspect. Yes, and very important thing in the purport that I missed is the purpose of the entire creation of God. The purpose of this creation of God, which is this material world, is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord. I heard somewhere that we didn't fall from spiritual sky. We willingly jumped. We willingly jumped down. So Krishna, we wanted to enjoy away from him, right? That mentality of enjoying away from Krishna. And so then Krishna created this material world, right? So then Prabhupada writes, the purpose of this entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. I think it's very self-explanatory, right? And then it assures that once the devotees surrender to Lord's devotional service, and still even if he has slight inclination to enjoy, then Krishna comes in, takes charge, helps him to get purified. However much time it takes depends upon the devotee's own sincerity. And then Krishna takes him back to Godhead. Yeah. And so I think these were some of the points that I wanted to share. And also, devotee thinks that, I deserved much worse. This is something that Krishna has given me. He's reduced it very much, I deserve much. We haven't seen all the sinful activities we've done in the past life. A question comes, that's not how we explain to a newcomer, but we understand it like that when somebody goes through something and they question if God exists, why do this suffering comes up? We know that all these living entities have done so much sinful activities in their past life that they're suffering now. It's their karma. It's their karma that they're experiencing. That's not how you should explain to a newcomer, but that's how we understand it. Okay? And Yes. What else? These were the most important points I wanted to share. And one important word in the verse is jivita. Jivita. I was listening to Vaisheshika Prabhu's class. Also, he was referring to the same point that just stay alive in Krishna consciousness. You know, you don't have to extend yourself too much. Just stay alive in Krishna consciousness. Do what it takes for you to stay in Krishna consciousness. Because a rich man's son, what does he have to do to inherit his father's property? He just have to live long enough to get it, right? To get that will of his father. So it's the same for Krishna consciousness. Just stay in the movement. Do not go away. Stay to the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. Stay closer to the lotus feet of Vaishnavas. Stay close to Prabhupada. Never leave his dhoti. He made a reel on Prabhupada, Amala Harinam Prabhu. You can check that on Instagram. It was like Yamaraj was reading all his sins, you know, and then Prabhupada comes in. Okay, I take from here, and then he holds his dhoti and he goes with him. So just stay alive in Krishna consciousness. Find out what it takes for you to stay. What is your austerity? How much can you do? How much surrender? Like, you measure. Not everybody has the same level of surrender. And sometimes their austerities look different than your austerities. So in that moment, you don't need to judge yourself. Like, this person is doing so much, what am I doing? No, maybe in that moment, whatever you're doing is, if you feel like you're doing your best, that maybe in that moment, you're doing enough. And you can always increase it. You can always increase it. But you have to be compassionate on yourself. Just stay in the movement. You know, keep doing the basic, what your spiritual master has asked you to do, what Prabhupada has asked you to do. Offenseless chanting of 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles. Prabhupada has mentioned in thousands of places is enough for you to take you back to Godhead. And reading these 4 books, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Nectar of Instruction, is enough for you to get perfect instructions, perfect and enough instructions for you to go back to Godhead. The Acharyas have made this process very simple for us. We just have to stay alive in this movement. Okay, so this is something I wanted to share. We can go to questions, yes. And I have a bhajan that I wanted to show, which is very much in touch with this exact Srimad Bhagavatam purport. Maybe you can pull it up, and then if you have time, we can sing. If not, we can look at the translations. It's called Nija Karma Phala Doshi. Okay.
So since you were asking, can anybody recall any word from this verse, I just spent like 20 minutes good thinking about that thing.
So you didn't hear my class. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No. So one thing you mentioned is jivita.
Yeah.
And then another word I was able to connect with another verse is vidadhan.
Vidadhan, offering.
Yeah. So that reminded me of a word, yo vidadhati kama. Which one is it? Nityo nityanam chetna chetan. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kama. Is that what you were trying to
Can you
also
go to the translation? I don't remember the verse. Can you tell me the translation? I don't
So
remember.
Nitya Nityanam, among the Nityas, like the eternal, there is one, the supreme eternal, who is like ever eternal. Nitya Nityanam, Chetana Chetanam, among the conscious beings, there is one like who is supremely conscious of it. Yeah.
Maybe we can pull it up, the
Yeah.
verse.
That'll be better.
So what is the question?
Yeah.
Nityo.
Yeah, you did
Yeah.
questions first, reflection later we can do.
I have a reflection and a question if you... Yeah, I also have a question.
Okay. Do you want to form your question? Take time a little bit?
That was
Oh,
Okay, maybe we can move forward a bit. So the reflection was like I was listening to Prabhupada this morning, and he was saying that our end goal is to surrender to Krishna. Like to enter into higher planetary system, it does not take much. Similar to what this verse was saying, our end goal is to surrender to Krishna. All these austerities that we are facing, if we just surrender to Krishna, it becomes easy. Just offer all your austerities to him. That I'm going through this. Please help me. Please guide me. So yeah, this is how I was able to connect. The question was, you mentioned maybe 2 or 3 times that, oh Krishna, please take charge of our life. What should be our intention when we are praying for that?
So first thing, I wanted to a little bit comment on the reflection that you shared. It still doesn't become easy. You still will feel a lot of different emotions going through what you're going through. And if we say we're surrendered and then it becomes easy and then Krishna will take care, we still do need people in our lives who can help us recognize those certain, what we can do in that moment to make it easy. We might not be able to make it easy for ourselves, but Krishna will definitely send devotees, or he will inspire us to reach out to them. So that's how it will be easy, right? And also, your question was surrender to Krishna. What should be the
Krishna take charge of my life. Like, what should be our intention behind this?
So Kunti Maharani's prayers is a really good answer to this, I feel like, where she says that let there be more calamities, because her intention so when Krishna takes charge, what he does is he takes. So now, when Krishna takes charge, you're not, the devotee is no longer falling into the category of being pushed forward and backward by the laws of karma. Krishna takes charge of devotee's life, and now he personally administer certain medicines which are bitter, certain plants in devotee's life which are bitter, which will sting you, that will make you feel more dependent on Krishna, right? So when we are asking that, Krishna, please take charge of me, please take charge of my life, what I can tell you what I think when I say that. I think that, Krishna, I have so many anarthas in my life, and not in my life, but like I have so many anarthas in me, and I am not capable to do it by my own self. That's why I don't trust myself, but I trust you, that you have a perfect plan on how I can get rid of these unwanted things from my life. Because I have tried for so many years, like I've not been able to do it, but I'm surrendering to you. You help me. You guide me. You give that intelligence to me that I can get rid of this thing or this anartha in my life. So when I ask him to take charge, that's what I'm feeling.
What will happen if we get rid of our anarthas?
We get purified, right? So Prabhupada was writing in the verse that to reach the sun planet, you have to become fire. So if you have to reach Krishna, you have to become purified. So when you don't have anarthas and you are doing devotional service, then you're not incurring any kind of karma. Then you don't come back to this material world. You get association of Krishna. So that purification step after bhajan kriya and artha nivritti is actually where we spend most of our lifetimes. So when we ask Krishna to take charge of us, we tell him that, please help me accelerate this process, because he knows that what you are going through, even if you're not able to explain him. Sometimes we're just like, Krishna, I think this is happening, but I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what is happening either. I don't know the question. I don't know the answer. So then he says, okay, you take charge. You help me. Because you're feeling sometimes so much emotions, and it's hard to figure out. So you let Krishna, but you also make a plan, of course. You don't have to just, I'm surrendered. Now you do. I'll sit and be lazy. That's not how it works. Yeah, like you have a disease, then you have to go to a doctor. You have to take medicine. You have to put in the effort. But then Krishna guides you which doctor to go to, which medicine to take. He'll inspire the doctor to give you that kind of medicine. So yeah, anyway, I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Do you want to go to the song because you don't have much time? I can ask the question.
Sure. What would you suggest? Should we sing it, or should we read it? Do you think we have enough time?
We have 2 minutes.
I guess we should just read the translation. Can we read together? Okay. Oh my dear Lord Hari, by the bad fruits of my past evil activities, I have slipped and fallen into the waters of the ocean of nations, and I have been thus bobbing and sinking beneath the waves for a very, very long time. Swimming, I have not been able to reach the shore of this ocean of material existence, for it extends for an unlimited vast distance. Becoming completely submerged and drowned in this ocean, I have loudly called out with great distress for someone to come and rescue me. At that time, you come to me, O Lord, knowing that you are the safe shelter at the shore of this fearful ocean has given me a ray of hope. You, dear Lord, are actually made of compassion. I am completely convinced that you are the original source of the highest form of causeless mercy. Most fallen rascal Bhakti Vinoda won't reject you anymore, for I, the befitting object of causeless mercy, have attained the favor of he who abounds in the causeless mercy. Isn't it so beautiful? Can you go to first one? So he says, no, like the translation. So he says that, so he's accepting, what we learn in the verse. So all the acharyas, they have realized the knowledge of Vedas, right? So now they're feeling everything. So their feelings, they have described in these bhajans. So he's accepting, see, by the bad fruits of my past evil activities, I have slipped and fallen into the waters of the ocean of nescience, and I have thus bobbing and sinking beneath the waves for a very, very long time. He takes the responsibility that because of me, I'm going through what I'm going through right now. And then he says, I have not been able to reach the shore of this ocean of material existence, for it extends for an unlimitedly vast distance. He's realizing that he's not able to do it by himself. So he's saying, I have not been able to reach the shore of material existence. Because it's so unlimitedly vast. For lifetimes I've been going through this, right? So then next he says, becoming completely submerged and drowned in this ocean, I have loudly called out with great distressed voice for someone to come. Now you see, when Krishna engineers those specific plans, then you reach that stage where you realize that I need help. Otherwise, if everything is good in your life, you won't call out for Krishna. That's why it's Lord's special mercy for you to reach into that stage where you can call for him. And then he asks for someone to come rescue me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is asking. And then at that time, you came to me, O Lord. And then knowing that you are the safe shelter at the shore of this fearful ocean has given me a ray of hope. You have given me a ray of hope by coming for my rescue, because I know that you are the only shelter that I can take. I can't do it by myself. Nobody else can help me because they're all drowning with me. Somebody who's outside of this material ocean can only give you the rope to get out, right? Otherwise, everybody else is drowning with you and you're just jumping over everyone's head to get out, which is just not very intelligent. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur is being intelligent. He said, I called out for somebody to come rescue me, and you came. And then he says, you, dear Lord, are actually made of compassion. I am completely convinced that you are the original source of the highest form of causeless mercy. Now this most fallen rascal, Bhakti Vinod, won't reject you anymore. Now I won't reject you anymore because now I've understand that. I've understood it that I can do it, nobody else can help me, you are the only one, but I am in a distressed situation. And I won't reject you anymore because I need help. Right? Because you see, in karmic world, in material world, when you give them Krishna consciousness, when you go out for book distribution, they just like, no, we're okay, we're good. Because they haven't reached that space. You see, anyone who's going through distress, they will want to get help from anywhere they can find. Right? So then he says, I won't reject you anymore. For I, the befitting object of causeless mercy. Befitting? I am the most I need mercy. I think that's what it means, right? When we go for book distribution, when somebody rejects it, you should understand that he hasn't reached the stage where he has realized that he needs mercy, or he is in that stage which is suffering. Like they are in ignorance, they're in blissful ignorance, right? And then he says, have attained the favor of he who abounds in causeless mercy. You abound in causeless mercy. I have obtained your mercy, so now I won't reject you because I have seen that I need it and you are giving it without any qualification. So, yeah. You can find Sachinandan Prabhu singing this. Sachinandan Prabhu sings this very beautifully on the YouTube. You can find a link to it.
Sachinandan Prabhu or Maharaj?
Not
Jai
March.
Satchidananda.
No, it's a different Sachinandan Prabhu. I couldn't find anybody else singing it, so, but it was hard for me to sing in that tune. Yeah, but anyway, you'll find that. That's it for now. Thank you. Hare Krishna.